Today, we're jumping into a story of how a people's entire fortune can just completely flip. We're talking about how a nation's honored guests became its most feared slaves. We're digging into the very first chapter of Exodus to see how this incredible reversal happens and how it sets the stage for one of the biggest liberation stories ever told.
So, at the heart of this chapter is this shocking U-turn. One minute the Israelites are welcome, they're living tribute to Joseph's legacy. The next, they're seen as this dangerous threat from within. So, how on earth does a whole country's perspective shift so drastically?
Well, it all starts with a surprisingly small number, 70. Think about it. This wasn't some invading army. It was a single family, Jacob and his kids, who came to Egypt looking for safety, joining their brother Joseph, the guy who had saved the entire country from a massive famine.
But that small family, they didn't stay small for long. As the text puts it so vividly, they were fruitful and multiplied greatly. They absolutely thrived in their new home, growing from just one little clan into a huge, impossible-to-miss part of Egyptian society.
But, these good times couldn't last forever. The real turning point, the moment everything changes, comes with a new king in Egypt, and his reign isn't defined by gratitude for the past, but by a deep anxiety about the future.
The text uses this chillingly simple phrase to describe him. He did not know Joseph. Now, this isn't just about forgetting a name. It's a signal of a total break with the past, a complete dismissal of the history, the friendship, and the massive debt that Egypt owed to Joseph and his family.
And right on the heels of that historical amnesia comes this raw, powerful fear. The new Pharaoh looks out at the Israelites, and he doesn't see neighbors or friends. He sees a demographic time bomb. He tells his own people that the Israelites are too many and too mighty, planting this poisonous idea that if a war ever broke out, they'd switch sides and fight against Egypt.
And Pharaoh's fear isn't just some private feeling he keeps to himself. Oh no, it becomes the engine for a truly devastating national policy. His whole strategy, fueled by this paranoia, is designed to systematically control and crush the Israelite people.
So this paranoia very quickly turns into action. Pharaoh comes up with this cruel, calculated plan to use the Israelites' greatest strength, their numbers and their work ethic, against them, transforming them from a successful community into a nation of slaves.
And his plan is just brutal. He sets up taskmasters to watch over them. He crushes them with backbreaking labor, forcing them to build entire cities for his empire. The goal was simple, really. Make their lives so bitter with hard service in mortar and brick that their spirit, and hopefully their population, would just break.
But here's where we get to one of the great ironies of this whole story. Pharaoh thought that by putting on all this pressure, he could stamp out their growth. What actually happened was the complete opposite.
Yeah, Pharaoh's plan backfired, spectacularly. The text couldn't be clearer. The more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied. The very strategy he designed to crush them only made them stronger, which, of course, just made the Egyptians even more afraid.
So with his big forced labor plan failing, Pharaoh's paranoia just escalates. He shifts tactics, moving away from public oppression to a secret, horrifying command. And that, in turn, sparks this quiet but incredibly powerful act of defiance from two very unlikely heroes. He calls the Hebrew midwives to see him, but not in his public court. No, he summons them into the shadows. His next move is a dark secret, a command given directly to the very women whose job it is to bring new life into the world.
And the story actually gives us their names, Shifra and Puah. By naming them, the story lifts them up. They're not just anonymous workers anymore. They are now central figures. Their personal choice, standing up against the most powerful man in the world, becomes the pivot point on which countless lives will depend.
This is Pharaoh's chilling order. He's commanding them to commit murder based on gender. As they help women give birth, they are supposed to become executioners, killing every single newborn boy while letting the girls live. It's a sick strategy designed to wipe out an entire generation of future men.
And here's their response, all wrapped up in just 4 powerful words. But the midwives feared God. What this means is their ultimate allegiance wasn't to Pharaoh, it was to a higher authority. So when they were ordered to commit murder, they chose to defy the king.
So when Pharaoh confronts them, asking why there are still baby boys around, they come up with this masterful lie. They say, the Hebrew women are just so vigorous, they give birth before we can even get there. It's one of the first recorded acts of civil disobedience, and it's brilliant.
They use stereotypes to save the babies, and at the same time, save themselves.
Okay, so Pharaoh has been outsmarted by 2 midwives. He is furious, and now he is done with secrets. His final act in this chapter is one of open, public terror for everyone to see.
You can just see the horrifying logic here, right? You can see how it escalates. It starts with the ruler's own private fear. That fear leads to enslaving a whole nation. When that doesn't work, it turns into a secret order to kill. And when even that is defied, it just erupts into a public decree of genocide.
And let's be really clear about what a decree means. This wasn't some backroom plot anymore. A decree is an official order. It has the full force of law. Pharaoh was making his murderous plan the official, undeniable policy for the entire nation of Egypt.
And look who he gives a command to: all his people. This is the truly terrifying part. He deputizes every single Egyptian citizen. He turns them all into agents of his genocidal plan. The command is now public, it's absolute. Every Hebrew baby boy is to be thrown into the Nile River.
And that's the terrifying question that this chapter just leaves hanging in the air. When the actual law of the land demands the death of your children, when your own neighbors are commanded to be your executioners, what hope is there? This desperate, impossible situation is the setup for the arrival of a hero, born under an immediate sentence of death.